All right, traders, how y'all doing? Welcome in. So these are the trades that I'm in. These are my entries. ETH looks pretty good. Depending on what I see on the chart, it might make sense to get out. It might not. I do want to say though that I have three rules now. The first rule, the most important rule is always use a stop loss. The second rule is never risk more than a percentage of the account. And the third rule now is limit order only. And I'm limit order only for a couple reasons. First reasons have to do with scheduling. I am awake during New York Open. Sorry, I'm asleep during New York Open always. I'm never there for New York Open. I'm now working, not just doing adventure tours, but also doing dolphin tours and marine tours. And I was offline last night for 18 hours. I got paid today to swim with dolphins and to swim with whale sharks. And I could not have been here to get this entry, which happened. When did this entry happen? 5, 6 a.m. I was actually would have been awake for that, but it's all good. And also, I tend to have sometimes I have a problem with revenge trading, but I definitely have a problem with chasing, buying highs, selling lows, and trading in the with limit orders saves me from chasing. So what I did, I talked about this, but there's a big sweep, big liquidity event when 1 hour and 4 hour gaps form. That is where I enter, and you can see how ETH perfectly took the 1 hour gap. I set my entry actually at this right in the middle of this 4 hour gap. There's still another 4 hour gap here for support, and that might be a place where I might like to have a limit entry. Depending on what's going on, we might have a range form down here. I could see us we could possibly go lower. We also get Bitcoin. I got into Bitcoin here on this little pullback. My initial entry was right here, but I TP'd up here and decided to reposition so I could reduce risk on this, so I could increase risk on ETH. So if I'm looking at the chart here, let's look at Bitcoin and ETH. We are having an issue in here with this gap, but we also continue to create new fair value gaps. So I can use these fair value gaps as potential entries and also as potential support. So if I'm looking at this, I might think, is price going to come back here? I could consider doing a partial TP and then setting a limit order again right there. That would be an interesting thing to do, which I might consider doing. But before we get into that, I really want to look at and see what's going on with some of my advanced indicators, which is funding rate CVD, and see what's going on here. I may just hold. I want to see negative, and we see negative. So the primary thing that I'm always looking for a really high probability trade is the when the funding rate is negative and price is going up. So that tells me that shorts are underwater from the beginning and are under a lot of pressure. It also tells me that shorts are just accustomed to selling and longs aren't very confident. So seeing that gives me a lot of confidence in the trade and makes me not really want to do any TP right now and stick with this target. I don't know if I don't want to TP, it doesn't make sense to add more risk on a retracement. I could consider advancing my stop a little bit, but I think I want to just leave it alone for now. I'm not really interested in shorts at all. We've had such a long downtrend. I'm really only interested in the longs right now. And also, typically, I really want to just focus on the longs on Bitcoin and ETH anyways. Bitcoin's positioned a little bit better. We see the funding rate on Bitcoin is negative, but that might not be true of ETH. And I think my position is actually, it's about the same on Bitcoin and ETH. They're not particularly large positions. I lost a lot market ordering and revenge trading on the way down from this huge win, which is forcing me to trade smaller right now. But it's okay. So let's see positions we're in. I'm in an ETH long that's up $300 and a Bitcoin long that's up 200. If I was using my normal risk, it would be a lot more, but it is what it is. Will not complain about that. If we look at ETH, funding is actually not negative, but it's going down with price creeping up. That's exactly what we want to see. It would be tempting to break my rules here and to add on at the market, but I'm not going to do that because I have these rules for a reason. So I also want to see open interest. I want to see CVD. So let's take a look. So what we're seeing is I want to see what's happening like really locally. So let's drop down to a lower time frame. We see that okay, spot has actually stepped in and buying. You see spot has been increasing, spot buying pressure really for the first time since this move up here. So that's really positive and relatively it's sort of more of a spot driven because you can see here on spot the coins there's more pressure than the eighth and here there's less. So we actually made a new low and we made a higher low on spot. So people are buying and we're seeing open interest not really changing too much, creeping up a little bit. But it's unclear if there's shorts or what's going on here, right? Here we see long open interest open, but right here with price going down, right here we have shorts opening. You can tell because we have a decrease in CVD futures on the line, and we have open interest increasing with negative funding, and we have a slight creep up in spot buying. So um, that's pretty promising for Bitcoin. And then let's go look at ETH funding rate. It doesn't look quite as good, but let's add CVD, futures, spot, and open interest. Um, Again, I want to drop to a lower time frame and see what's happened since the bottom. This funding has stayed pretty low. Actually, traders have actually been longing ETH, but they've also been buying at spot. So we have an increase in open interest. ETH is a lot more vulnerable than Bitcoin. At the same time, I don't really want to fade this necessarily, but let's go back to the chart and consider because with a sharp move up comes potential for a sharp move back. However, there's already been a pullback and price has been at the moment is grinding up higher. It's Sunday also, so actually before we drop down to the low time frame, I'm curious what's going on. How did futures open? Futures open with a slight gap up. A lot of the time when there's news on a Friday and everybody sells off and are panicked, people come in and want to buy on Monday. So that might happen, possibly. Um, okay. I mean, I still like the idea of Bitcoin putting in a lower high, which would be right here. And a lower high would take us to back up to 62, possibly up to 66. But at that point, I don't know. I still think all-time highs are maybe in the cards. I don't want to say for sure. I just want to kind of trade the chart as it is. But let's get to it. I mean, it doesn't take much to break that trend line at the very least. Okay, so let's drop down to the lower time frame where I want to look at high volume candles and see what's going on here. So we can see, I mean, this looks like a giga add position. I'm not going to do it, but I could look at possibly having a add on a pullback. But we see, okay, there was a big buy and there was a lot of volume on the sell. We came back. Where did we come to? We respected this gap on the 15 minute or on the on the 5 minute and then pushing higher. ETH as well. I kind of want to just leave it alone for now. Taking risk off would be reasonable, but I feel like we could take this low. I could think about, oh, we're supposed to be here. Let's make this go away. I could think about looking for an add-on long, possibly. Um, I don't know that can carry that much more risk though. But yeah, I think putting my stop here is reasonable. And for Bitcoin, I think stop at the low would also be reasonable. We have this gap. It's maybe too close for me to want to. And it's already been mitigated here one time. I guess if I had logged in at 8 o'clock, I could have taken an add-on. But that's too tight for me to want to do that. But I am interested in taking off risk. I'll probably check back later. It's before going to bed and look to potentially have an add-on if a 4-hour gap is created here. So this candle is going to end at 2. Um, in the meantime, I'm not interested in taking profit. I do think it would be interesting on ETH to put a little add-on in this area right here with my stop down there. It's a little bit tight, but I'm okay with that. So I think I will do that. I think I'm going to advance my stops and then I'll put that and I'll make a note to come back later and look for that 4-hour. So for Bitcoin, I'm going to advance my stop to 53,600. Okay. What? No, I'm on the wrong one. Okay, for Bitcoin, my stop loss is going to be, I'm going to advance it to 53,600. And I'm staying with this 57,000. I expect price to maybe go higher, but this is a good place for a reaction and then to look for an entry on a retrace. Yeah, I guess there would also be no reason to have an add-on here because that's our entry, and I'd rather average up than average down. So I'm okay, I'm gonna leave that. I advance my stop. This one, I don't really feel like a sweeping of the high is bearish necessarily. I think it's bullish, especially because of the reaction after, where prices kind of pushed up a little bit. So I think I am going to put in a limit order on ETH for a small add-on here. So if we look at ETH, my current stop, I'm going to put it at 22.39. I don't know, it seems, this part seems a little bit risky, but I like cutting my downside regardless. I can always re-enter if we sweep in and we create a new gap. So 22.39, which is near my entry, and um, I'm gonna try to add to my ETH position. Where, how much can I risk? Not too much. My stop is gonna go from, well, actually, maybe I don't want to do that because, yeah, I think I actually won't do that because this 4-hour gap lower. And actually, I'm gonna leave my ETH stop wide. I forgot about this gap here. If we create a new 4-hour gap, maybe I'll advance it, but I'm gonna leave my stop at 22.05 for now. and yeah, let him play out. So now again, I'm not that interested in the TP here because we have gap support and because we have just the way the charts look. We are rejecting at the golden pocket initially and poking into this gap. The whole thing could reverse for sure. It's entirely possible, but I'm considering how the funding is. There's a world where I could take a piece off and try to limit in here. There's also a world where I try this and then I would try to limit or lower, but I'd rather just let my stop allow for that. But I'm just gonna leave this alone for now. And then I just want to see what some of the alts are doing on the 4 hour. Core, 1 inch, Ave. Okay. Maybe the daily is a better way to look. Yeah. DYDX. AVAX looks pretty strong. Curious on Ton. I think I lost Ton from here somehow. Okay, just curious on AVAX. I want to see if that was readable in the funding. It was. It was super negative the whole time. However, with AVAX, yeah. Okay, I'm gonna share that with my private group just 'cause curious. Okay. 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 Noticing that AVAX has rallied off the bottom more than most and wanted to see if it showed up in funding, and it did. It's one of the most strongly, most persistently shorted coins. Your settings. Um, what's he saying here? Okay. Get Jimmy off autopay. Let's do that. want to see what's interesting. Anything that's like really moved. Honestly, Bitcoin is one of the better movers. Almost everything green. What? QNT. Mm, this may be a sign. Okay. I'm posting in there because some of the other guys like were working on the strategy. Funding. Most everything looks the same. Here's Ton. I thought Ton could move well. It's moved about average. Curious in HNT because I wanted to short it and I was like, this is dumb. And it's definitely dumb because look how many um, longs we have. Now it hasn't gone up as much, but still, that was not a good long. Bitcoin dominance. Bitcoin's moving about average on the day. So we have a new daily candle and there's nothing to do. Although again, I'm gonna take a look back later and see if we can respect this area. It would be very good because it would create a new 4-hour gap and allow for um, advancing of a stop, but that might not happen. Yeah, I'm not that interested in being a seller yet. In which case, it's possible that I should run my stop even wider on Bitcoin, but um, I kind of like having where it is. It takes most of the risk out of it, and that's important. So, okay, guys, happy trading, much love, and peace.